Hi everyone, this is Spike here. Welcome back to another Mario Party Superstars modded tutorial. In this tutorial, we'll be taking a model from Mario Kart Tour and importing it into Mario Party Superstars. For this particular tutorial, we'll be putting Lederhosen Luigi over regular Luigi. The only tool you'll really need for this tutorial is Switch Toolbox by KillsX Gaming. I'll be leaving a link to that in the description. You'll also need some kind of modeling software. I'm going to be using Blender for this video. It's completely free, so anyone can download it. If this video helps you out, please consider liking and subscribing. So let's get started. As this tutorial only focuses on changing the model of the character, we're only going to be using one file here. The file you'll need from the game's extract is one of the Chara PC files. You need to choose the character you want to replace here. In this case, we're going to be using Luigi, so we're going to be choosing Chara PC PC02 Luigi. Copy the file over to another location. Now open Switch Toolbox. Open the BIA file that you just copied over. Then expand the contents like you see in the video. Double click the blue BNTX file to expand the contents. This contains the textures. Double click the orange FMDB file. This contains the model for the character. By clicking on the model, you'll see that the model of the character appears in the window. We're now going to want to export the original character. To do that, click on the grey cube icon file. In our case, it's called PC02 Luigi. Click export, choose the location and save it as a DAW file. Keep all of the settings on default and choose OK. Now open up Blender and remove the default objects. We're going to want to import the original character model that we just exported. So go ahead and click File, Import, and find the character model. And there we are, there's our original character model. Before we get any more into this video, I would recommend you have a bit of knowledge on Blender. But this video will cover everything for you if you've never used Blender before. It would just be useful for you to know some stuff about hotkeys and the basics of Blender. Hide the fluid objects as shown in the video. It's just easier hiding them to get them out of the way. We don't want to delete them though. I'll explain about the fluid objects a bit more later on in the video. Now let's make the bones easier to work with by showing them through the model. Click on the orange armature icon, expand viewport display, and enable in front. You can now see that the bones appear through the model, which makes it easier to rotate and move these bones around. For now though, let's hide the armature just so it doesn't get in the way. There's a couple more things we're going to need to do to this model before we get started. Click on the model, press tab to go to edit mode, select all vertices using the A key. You may need to double press it until everything turns orange. Go to Mesh, Clean Up, and Merge by Distance. All of the doubles will now be removed. Doubles are basically two vertices in the exact same location. The Mario Party Superstars models always have doubles, so they need to be removed just to make it a bit easier to work with the model. Some models, however, have problems with removing the doubles. Wario's does, especially with his teeth. So there are some models that you're just going to need to play around with a bit if you do decide to remove the doubles. The second thing we need to do is remove non-manifold vertices. These are vertices that aren't connected to anything else. Some of the Mario Party Superstars models will have these. Again, it's not something that's essential to remove, it just makes it a bit easier to work with the model. First you need to make sure that nothing on the model is selected. Press A if you need to. Then press select, select all by trait, non-manifold. This will select all the non-manifold vertices. Before we delete them though, there are some things we need to deselect. Go to wireframe mode by pressing the Z key and then wireframe. Deselect all connected vertices as shown in the video. To do this, make sure your cursor is over one of the orange lines, then hit Alt and left click. This should deselect everything there. Then you need to move on to the next thing. Once you've done that, hit the delete key and click vertices. It's now time to import your model that you want to replace the default character with. Again, in our case, we're going to be replacing Lederhosen Luigi with regular Luigi. The model is in the form of an FBX, so I'm going to click File, Import FBX, and then I'm going to choose the file. As you can see, he's extremely tiny. The Mario Kart Tour models are much smaller than the Mario Party Superstars models, so you're going to have to scale them up a lot. Click the armature for your new model and press the S key to scale. You then need to move your mouse outwards to scale out and move it inwards to scale inwards. You want to make sure your model lines up as well to the original model as possible. Considering both characters here are Luigi, it's much easier to line up arms and legs and the head and all of that. So just play around with that until you get it just right. Now, if it has one, hide the armature for your new model. Mario Kart Tour models have 3 different objects inside. Each is the same model, but with 3 different poly counts. The LOD 01 is the one with the highest poly count, so that's the one we're going to keep. So let's delete the other 2 by right clicking and pressing delete, or you can just press the delete key. Now change to material preview mode by clicking Z and then material preview. You can see the textures on my model here are very weird, they seem to be inside out. If you have this problem, just follow these steps here. Click on the red material icon, click on one of your materials, scroll down to settings and expand the panel. Now change the blend mode to opaque. It should now be fixed, but you need to do that for all materials. Most Mario Kart Tour models have 2 materials, so just select them both and choose opaque for both. Now we're finally set up in Blender, so it's time to get this Lederhosen Luigi into Mario Party Superstars. If you're doing what I'm doing and replacing an original character with the same character but in a different outfit, you're probably going to want to do exactly what I'm doing here with Luigi. So Mario Party Superstars models also have the eye model, which allows the eyes to move and blink and all of that. We want to keep that if possible. So what we're going to want to do in this case is we want to keep the head and the eyes of the original Luigi model from Mario Party Superstars. We also want to keep his hands, as Lederhosen Luigi's hands are exactly the same. It just means we don't have to go through the effort of rigging the fingers again. But then everything else, the body, the legs, the hat, will all be from Lederhosen Luigi's model from Mario Kart Tour. First we're going to want to hide our new model. Then you're going to want to show the original model. Now go into edit mode by pressing tab, wireframe mode by pressing Z and wireframe. And we're basically going to select all vertices for this original Luigi that aren't the head or the hands. You can select all vertices individually by pressing left click on them, or there's other methods Blender has set up to help you select multiple vertices at once. One of these methods is box select. Just press B and you would have a box on your screen. Everything inside the box will be selected. As you can see here in the video, we're just looking into detail at this model now and deleting everything that's not the head or the hands. We're also going to want to delete the hat from Luigi, as this isn't the same hat as Lederhosen Luigi has. Once you've finished deleting everything, go back to object mode, hide the original model, and then get up your new model. Now it's time to do the exact same with the Lederhosen Luigi model, but the opposite. So this time we're going to be deleting the hands and the head, excluding the hat. Again, you can use box select to easily select these. Now let's show the original model as well. Okay, we're done, but it seems there's a bit of a problem. You can see there's now a gap between the hat and the head. Simple fix for this would simply just be going into edit mode and dragging the vertices at the top of the head up until they reach the hat. That way there isn't a gap anymore. You can do that by selecting the vertice, then using the move tool in the left panel. Now it's time to rig. I'm not going to be going into detail on how to rig from scratch. For that you'll have to look up a tutorial yourself. Rigging is a bit complicated, so it would take quite a while to explain it in this video alone. As Lederhosen Luigi came from Mario Kart Tour and already has an armature, that means he already has his own bones. If we press the green triangle icon to the right, you can see a category for vertex groups. These are all the bones for Lederhosen Luigi right now. You can see we've got ones like leg L, leg R, spine 1, spine 2. You can click each of these and press the select button and it will show you exactly what vertices are attached to each of those vertex groups. The Mario Party Superstars model also has its own vertex groups with different names to these. Those are the ones we're going to want to be using, otherwise the animations are going to be incompatible. So how can we easily transfer these Lederhosen Luigi vertex groups over to the original vertex groups? It's quite simple actually. Literally all you need to do is rename each of them. For example, let's start with the root bone. You can see for Lederhosen Luigi, it's called skl_root. For the original model though, it's called model_roots. We simply need to rename skl_roots to model_roots. To do that, double click the vertex group you want to change. Then just type in the new name you want to give it and click enter. It's now updated, but we need to do that for everything. So foot L will become L_foot, R foot will become R_foot, knee L will become L_calf, hip will become pelvis, and just keep following the pattern like that. We have a bit of a problem when it comes to the spine bones though. Lederhosen Luigi has 2 spine bones, whilst the original one only has 1 spine bone. All of the vertex groups in Lederhosen Luigi's model need to be used, otherwise some vertices aren't going to be attached to a bone at all. If something like this happens with your model, all you need to do is combine the 2 vertex groups into one. So how we're going to do that is click spine 2, go to edit mode, click select, click remove to remove those vertices from spine 2, then with the vertices still selected, click spine 1 and click assign. That means spine 1 now has all of the spine vertices, while spine 2 has nothing. You can go back to object mode now. Now all we need to do is actually remove spine 2 from the vertex groups list. To do that, just select spine 2 and click the minus button. And there we go, let's carry on. When you get to the head bone, make sure you rename it to head_aimcont instead of just regular head. The reason why is the regular head bone is only influenced by animation, whilst the head aimcont bone is influenced by more as well. If the character has to look up to see the dice block or an item or something, or they're just looking around, that is influenced by the head aimcont bone. So that's why we need to attach this to head aimcont. Once we have finished that, we need to unparent your new model from the armature. Press Alt P and clear and keep transformation. You can see it is now unparented. We can now delete that old armature. So right click it and select delete hierarchy. And then we need to parent your new character to the Mario Party Superstars armature. To do this, select your new character in the hierarchy. With your character still selected, hold down shift and press the armature. You'll need to show the armature if it's hidden. Then press Ctrl P and object keep transformation. If you are rigging from scratch, you will likely need to choose with empty groups or with automatic weights. There's one last thing we need to do before this character will move with the Mario Party Superstars rig. With your character selected, click on the blue spanner icon. If your character already had a rig, there should already be an armature modifier here. If there isn't though, just click the add modifier button and armature. Click on the object panel and then select the armature. After that, click on the armature, go to pose mode in the top left corner. Click on one of the bones and you should be able to start moving them around and seeing how they work. You can use the R key to rotate. Overall, it looks pretty good. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but you can spend more time making it perfect if you need to. One thing that's always best to do is select the root bone and start moving it left and right. If no vertices stay in the same place and it looks like this, with all vertices moving at once, then you're good. If there's still vertices there staying in the same place though, then something's gone a bit wrong and you've missed that vertice and just need to attach it to a vertex group. Now one very final thing we need to do before we can get this model into Toolbox is apply the location, rotation and scale. If you don't do this, the model is going to be completely messed up in Toolbox most likely. First thing to do, select the armature in object mode. Go to Object, Apply, Location, and then do the same for rotation and scale as well. If you open up the item panel and take a look at the values, the location and rotation values should all be 0 and the scale values should be 1. Once you've done that with the armature, you need to do it with all the other objects as well. Click on the very top one, then hold shift and click on the bottom one to select them all at the same time. Then once again go Object, Apply Location and do the same for rotation and scale. Finally it's time to export. It's best to use the day format again, otherwise something will probably go wrong in Toolbox. Click File, Export, Day, and choose somewhere to save it. Now go back into Toolbox. Click on the model, right click and click Replace. Then select your new model that you just exported. All of the default settings for the first dialog box are fine and you can just press OK. As for the second dialog box though, some things may need to be changed here. First of all, uncheck Use Material. If you have added bones to your character, you're going to want to enable Import Bones. However, we haven't with ours, so we don't need to do that. Now go to Inject Mode, and here you just want to enable the first option, Keep Original Skin Count. The game can sometimes be a bit picky. If you don't enable this, then yeah, it will crash sometimes. Then go back to Model Settings and click Save. You should now be able to see your new model here, but we don't have the textures yet. Let's work on that. There are two different types of files for textures. The main textures are stored in the blue BNTX file. If you click on each one, you can see what the texture looks like. The other type of texture file is the FTXB file. These are stored in the textures folder. These are nothing more than simple text files. If you click on each one and change display to text editor, you will be presented with a file path. So basically the point of these files is to tell the game where each texture is stored. You can see for every texture in the BNTX file, there is an FTXB file that goes with it. There are 4 main different texture types that are used with Mario Party. There are some other ones too, but they're not as relevant. Albedo is the main colour, metallic measures the metal look of the texture, roughness measures how rough it is, so if it's more rough then it will be shinier, and normal measures bumps. Let's go ahead and start adding our textures now. Right click the BNTX file and click import texture. You can see I already have all the texture files prepared. We've got the albedo, metallic, roughness and normal. Click on all the textures you want to use and choose open. Some settings will need to be adjusted depending on the texture type. The format for the albedo texture needs to be BC1 sRGB. The format for the metallic and roughness texture needs to be BC4 UNORM. Then the format for the normal texture needs to be BC5 SNORM. After you've updated all those, click OK. You can see the textures now appear in the BNTX file. There's just a couple more things we need to do with these textures before we can continue. The albedo one should already be fine. For the metallic and roughness textures, change the alpha channel from red to 1. Then for the normal texture, change the blue channel from 1 to 0. You can rename the textures by right clicking them and then clicking rename. Obviously you don't have to do this, but you want the names to be pretty simple. The next thing we have to do is add the FTXB files for each of these new textures. Right click any of the existing FTXB files and click export raw data. Then save it somewhere. Now right click the textures folder, add file, and choose that FTXB file you just exported. Import that for the amount of textures you've added. So we're going to have to import this FTXB file a total of 4 times. Once you've done that, right click each new FTXB file and click rename. You then need to rename each one to the same name as each new texture you've added. Make sure it's exactly the same, otherwise that texture will appear black in game. You also need to make sure that you add .ftxb at the end of each of these FTXB files. If you click back on the model, you'll see that the textures still haven't updated. This is because we haven't updated the character's materials yet, we've only added textures. Expand the contents as shown in the video. You'll see we have an objects and materials folder. The objects folder represents all of the different objects that make up the character. The materials folder contains all the different materials used for this character. You can see each object has a material assigned to it. We're going to need to add a new material for Lederhosen and Luigi's textures. Right click body _ M and click export. Choose a place to export that to. Then right click the materials folder and click import material. You then want to choose that material that you just exported. If you click on a new material, you'll see that it's still using the original Luigi's textures. Let's now update these to Lederhosen and Luigi's textures. You can do that by clicking on each one, clicking the edit button and selecting the new texture. So the albedo texture will become Lederhosen and Luigi's albedo texture, the normal texture will become Lederhosen and Luigi's normal texture, and so on. Once you've done that, click on the object you want to change your material for, and select your new material. Do that for every object that you need it for. If your texture doesn't look quite right, you may need to change the wrap settings for each texture. Click on the material you're having a problem with, then for each texture in there that you're having a problem with, click on it. On the right, go down to wrap, then for X, Y and Z, change it from clamp to mirror. Now click the save button, and he's done. He should be working now, so let's go ahead and try him in game. And yeah, he looks pretty good in game. Everything seems to be working fine, maybe his textures are a little bit off, but we could fix those with just spending a bit more time on different things. One common thing I experience which hasn't happened with this particular model is if your model appears completely pink, or there's different parts that appear pink, then just follow these steps to fix it. click on the material you're having a problem with. At the top you should see a text box for shader archive and shader model. If the text has an underscore custom at the end, just go ahead and remove that, and that should hopefully fix it. Other than that though, that's the end of the tutorial. I really hope this helped. If you have any problems, please do let me know and I'll try my best to offer some advice to you. If this did help, please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next tutorial. Goodbye.